I was driving and my first thought was trying to stop and turn things off rather than grab my camera. So it'd been a long time since I've taken the car out, and so I thought I should take it out. And I don't know, it got probably about a mile away and the steering column started smoking. Not a good sign. So pulled off to the side. I'm having my wife bring me some tools, do a little roadside repair. I think it's like the horn, meaning like as I was trying to turn the car off, the horn was just going. So I think there's some wires there that need some fixing. So I'm sure it would have made for a great YouTube video, but I essentially had smoke pouring out of those holes, and yeah. But again, I was driving and my first thought was trying to stop and turn things off rather than grab my camera. So there we go, the clock spring there, all the wires, something wasn't happy. I thought it would be for sure something that I did, like this is my crap work here, but back there, something's not happy. So yeah, I kind of had to do this a little awkwardly, so I thought for sure maybe that was it, but nope, something else. Yeah, that is just crispy. It doesn't smell very good either. Oh my gosh, look at that. Okay, so for the meantime, what I'll do is I'll just clip it right here, put some electrical tape to kind of isolate things, and then just drive home without a horn. All right, this was my fix to get home. So I'm really surprised because usually I feel like it's my fault, whatever it is. Now, don't get me wrong, it's still my fault. But this one was a wire, call it like an OEM wire. So you can see where I clipped it there, and the other part is right there. So again, from my car, we're fine. And then back, this ugly contraption is what I made, and that's fine too. So somewhere in the middle, it kind of, wires got kinked, or I don't know what happened. But I want to say it's not me. It's me. I'm sure whatever I did was wrong, but yeah, I'll have to find some new wires here. So one question I do have is, so this is a signal wire. It's got really low amperage. It's just really only interfacing with a relay. So like, 250 milliamps or something like that. So I've got those signal wires are all on like a 5 amp relay, but apparently to like smoke out a wire, it's less than 5 amps. So if somebody's got a suggestion or better practice, let me know. So I'm hoping that will be my last kind of exciting experience, fire in the car. I'm glad I was close to home. I'm glad I had people available to help me, and glad it wasn't too serious. For those of you who are new or just haven't seen in a while, we've been working on the front, and I gotta say it looks great. So recently I added these slots for the sequential turn signals and got those kind of all wired up. I do need to extend the wire. So I've got these coverings that go on the back, and they don't quite fit with the wires, meaning the wires kind of get stretched too tight. So I will lengthen those cables. The other thing I'm going to work on this week is trying to fit up the doors. So you see we've got this gigantic panel gap. So I'm going to work on this as well as kind of the bottom, the sides. So we're going to see how far we can get kind of on the midsection. We're kind of going front to back, trying to get everything ready for paint. Hopefully you can see a little difference, meaning like this looks pretty sharp, pretty good. And back there, I still need some work. So again, we're moving from front to back. So here's my thought with this panel gap. I'm gonna build up from the door up. So the reason to do that is when the door opens, it kind of like I guess I'll just show you. Kind of folds down and away. So can you see that? So down and away. So that's the thought there, is I'll just kind of build up a layer right on top of here. I've got this rubber that kind of makes for a good panel gap, and the fiberglass will not stick to it. So my plan is I will kind of get this rubber kind of right up here, and I'll fill in the rest with the short strand fiberglass filler. Okay, so I've placed the silicone rubber kind of right along that top edge, and I've just kind of held things in place. Just squished up some paper towels, give me kind of the appropriate thickness, and then put a bead of the silicone sealant just to kind of hold things in place. So once that kind of sets up, I'll take away the paper towels, and then I'll just start filling with the short strand fiberglass filler. Okay, looking at other panel gaps, where the door comes down here, there's just a little bit of an offset. I shouldn't say can't. I probably won't try and sand this, because if I sand this kind of line goes away, or I have to kind of gouge out a lot there. So I'm thinking I'll probably build this one up a little bit. So again, that'll probably be some more fiberglass, short strand fiberglass filler. All right, this is really rough, but just try to get the filler. Man, we just have big gaps. So trying to get the filler to get most of that gap complete. It should be a little interesting. When the door opens, it swings out, but so the hinge is kind of right here. So this part kind of swings kind of down, but this one kind of almost comes up. So right here gets really close. So I hope that I can still open the door to kind of sand and things. We'll see. Don't worry, by the end of it, this will be looking good. While I had the short strand fiberglass filler out, I also kind of built up just a little bit here. So it's now time to kind of take off the rubber and start sanding and see how we did. I got the short strand fiberglass filler in, kind of sanded it roughly to shape, and I've got a pretty decent line now, decent panel gap. It's still gonna need a lot of filler. And the other thing I'm noticing is that I've got it's a plane difference between here and here. So again, this one's a little bit short of that. So I'm gonna need to build up some filler here. Not too much, but just a little bit. On the back side here, I had to file it just so I could open the door, but eventually I need to take the door off and kind of sand that backside as well. So I just replaced the Velcro pad here on my orbital sander. So what was happening is the discs were no longer sticking to the Velcro, and that's my fault. I learned what can happen is if you kind of put too much pressure, whatever, the heat builds up, and then these, the Velcro kind of melts and it no longer can hold on to those pads. So I guess just a word to the wise. Let the tool do the work, kind of don't lean on it too hard, don't build up too much heat. I got the replacement pad for $10 on Amazon. Okay, I've done some rough sanding here and here, getting closer. We just need to add some filler right here, and then just kind of in all the little spots that kind of are missing. I actually ended up sanding back here, sanding away all the primer. So we'll go get doing that and get this thing looking good. Now that's looking like a panel gap. So I'm really pleased with how this is coming along. I've got still some minor work to do, like just kind of on some of the very edges. But in general, I think I've blended it really well. It kind of mates up just perfectly down here at the bottom as well. So I'll do maybe just a couple little touch-ups there. Then I think what I'll do is I'll move to this bottom seam and kind of do the same thing. So the bottom seam again is just a little bit big. I'll probably put some rubber strips in there and put some of the short strand fiberglass filler on and kind of again get the even seam all along the bottom of the door. I have been working on the door fitment. So from about here back was already, I'll call it proud, or a smaller gap. So this one was easy, just kind of sand it smooth until I had the right gap. So basically I've just been using that same rubber sheet as kind of a, call it like a feeler gauge. So basically this one just barely slides under here. And so I'd get to a spot where it kind of hang up and then I could marked it and sanded it. Basically we're kind of all good all the way through here. So up here, I need to add more filler. So I'll probably place this down, put the filler, close the door, wait till it cures, and then kind of sand the rest. All right, so I put some of the filler just on the underside of the door, put these rubber strips in place and kind of close the door. So some of it kind of extruded out, which is fine. It's just starting to harden up, so I'm gonna take a blade and just kind of trim the excess if I can, and then start sanding. I just opened the door, and you can see, so some of it extruded out this way, which is okay. We'll just kind of sand that off as well. But this is, take this off. So again, that should give us a nice, really nice edge. Very satisfying. Okay, we'll start sanding and making this thing look good. All right, it is all cleaned up. So basically I can put this like all, it's kind of just snug in just a few places, but essentially it's kind of the even gap all the way around, all the way to the very front. So again, we've got a nice even gap. We've got just a few touch-up things. Just, you know, trying to clean up these edges just a little bit. It needs just a little more filler in a couple places. Right there as well. But this door is looking pretty good. So I'll do the same thing going up the seam here. All right, I've got this edge done up to that point. So this one was mostly tight, but just kind of some sanding and things goes right up to here. And then this ends up being just a tad bit loose. So we'll kind of get this a little closer. And then this door, I think this is looking pretty good. All right, I've been kind of profiling the seam of the door here. I'm up to about this point, and so I need to add a little bit here, but this also gives me a chance to address this. So I'll say one of the potential drawbacks of this car design is it has one door hinge. So every other car I've ever known has two door hinges. Gives a little more stability. So this one, give it a little rock here. So it gives it just a little bit, yeah. So meaning if you just kind of push down normally, it usually finds the right place, but you can see it kind of has a little bit, like if you pull it towards the driver or away from the driver, it can actually hit in a different spot. So I had somebody help me once that wanted to close the door and just bam, you know, kind of try to close it really hard, hit right here. So that's something I need to repair. But I was also wondering about maybe even putting like, I'll call it like a little metal plate or something kind of on either side, so if it does hit, it'll kind of guide it in and not be so destructive. So I'll look at that. Maybe I just ignore that for now, but it's something I'm going to look at. All right, I've been spending the last few minutes trying to make little metal pieces here. The thought is, again, if it's too far one way or the other, the metal, it should hit that. So I'll show you here. So basically that's the striker. And so if I go kind of too much this way, it'll come down and hit that one. And if I go too much this way, it'll come down and hit the other one. So that way the fiberglass is protected, won't get any more cracks or chipping. And I've already got a hole in this one because I know there's kind of real estate here. I just need to figure out where to kind of put a hole on that one. And my thought is I'll kind of fiberglass all around it so it'll kind of be sunken in and just have a screw to kind of keep it in place. So that means I need to get some fiberglass filler kind of all around this on both sides. I've got the short strand fiberglass filler kind of all around. My intent was to kind of have these ones kind of pop out and you could screw them back in. But I thought, well, I don't know that it's, maybe just keep them in. I still got screw holes, so if they do pop out, I can screw them in, or I'll just screw them in from here. Anyway, what this allows me to do is now when I close this, if I'm off, so I'll kind of have it be a little towards me, so you can hear it. That's metal on metal, and if I go the other way, metal on metal. So again, no longer on the fiberglass, but we got metal here, metal there, and this is all kind of ready to go. I need to kind of dress up this whole area. In order to do that though, I think the easiest way for me, I'm gonna have to take the door off anyway, so I think this will be easier once the door's off. So I've got a little touch-up work here on the outside, and then I'll either work on the other side or I'll take the door off. I haven't decided yet. All right, so for this gap up here, again, we're just a little bit on the big side. And what I'm gonna do, so down here, I did it on the door because as you open this, like I didn't want just like this little ridge kind of up here. I want it on this big flat panel. Well, similarly on the door, right up here, it gets to be this little ridge. And here's kind of the big flat panel. So I'm gonna put the short strand fiberglass on this one. Okay, so we're looking really good here, down there. Again, all the way along the bottom. We've got a nice gap, just real even. And then up the side, we're good. So here we're good. There we're good, there we're good. So I've even started blending this one. I actually need to do this face too. Didn't remember that one. And then there's just, I'll call it the very corners kind of are, some places are just not full. So I'll probably come back just with a little bit, fill this one to kind of smooth it out and then do some corners. But it's looking really good. All right, I think we're finally getting pretty close. So after a couple rounds of the filler and sanding, and more filler, and then more sanding, this is looking really good. I've got it blended well there. This is actually pretty even. I did put filler across and kind of sanded it, so that's good. Up underneath. So again, all the body lines are looking really good. So I think we're up to about here. So I will probably continue on back. I do need to go back and probably do some things I haven't done before. So what I want to do, so again, I'll probably try and get all the way to the back corner here. So make sure this is all how I like it. But then I want to hit it all with guide coat everywhere and just make sure I've got kind of all the scratches, imperfections out, and kind of get finer and finer with the sandpaper. So I didn't do that up front, and I think I saw at least one area in the seam that just doesn't look quite right. So I might need to do it again back up front. But again, pretty pleased with this. So I'm hoping to get there, and then we'll see how much more time we have. All right, I've sanded about to that back corner. So this is kind of a first sanding through everything. I think at this point, I'll look at it one more time, but I might want to just go straight to the guide coat and see how we're doing. Again, I'm really pleased with kind of the blending and how this is working out. Just really loving the lines. This is one of those things that if you look at K1 Attack online, you'll just see picture after picture just with these huge panel gaps. And for the most part, they get overlooked because, again, the styling is pretty stunning. But I'm really pleased with the progress we've been able to make and kind of what it looks like now. Hey everybody, this is Max. He just turned 10. He's been in a few episodes, but usually he just likes to kind of chill out. Okay, I'm gonna try and start doing some things a little more as recommended. I've had some of these sanding blocks for a long time. I just have had, I'll call it the wrong sandpaper. I shouldn't say the wrong sandpaper, but I had sandpaper that I used to finish my garage, and it's more kind of like for sheetrock and had a Velcro back. And anyways, I've just been using that forever because I already had it. So now I've had these for a while, like I said, but I went and got some sandpaper that matches it. So we're gonna use that as we kind of go smoother and smoother on this guy. So it might look like we're actually worse. I think we're getting better. Back here, we kind of sanded away all the primer that was already on there. So you're back to seeing kind of filler and other things, kind of the camouflage from when I originally created this panel. So if you want to see that one, check up here. But basically sprayed the guide coat everywhere and then kind of sanded, and it really kind of helped highlight places that weren't, well, I'll say that were a little low. So I went back kind of with some filler in various places and sanded again. So I think this has got everything to 80 grit. And so basically I'll kind of spray on the guide coat again and go to, I think my next size is like 150 or 120, something like that. And again, the thought is everything should be good there. And then we're just kind of going after kind of a surface finish rather than kind of the highs and lows. With the guide coat, there's kind of this strip that just kind of was a little sunken in places, high in others. So got some filler out, kind of put it right there along where the guide coat kind of was present, and kind of filled it in, block sanded again. So now everything's kind of feathered really nicely. And I've got this, essentially the whole car has been done, well, I shouldn't say the whole car. Front and the side have been done with the kind of 180 grit. So the 80 grit, and so what I'll do now is I'll just put another guide coat on, probably just on the seam and then along the side, and do everything with 150. That's what I'll do next. I sanded everything to about 320 grit and things were looking pretty good. Especially the back, I just really struggle because it's like camouflage. I cannot tell all the imperfections. And so this is, again, just a sandable primer, and this really helps me visualize a lot of the little defects. So I'll show you some of them. So there's some, you can just see little pinholes and things here as well. I'll just say with the filler and short strand fiberglass filler and all the other stuff, it just blends into this mess where it's just really hard to see. So again, just throwing a coat of white on it, I think it really helps me kind of pick up a lot of the defects. All right, guys, I want you to look at those seams. They're really good. If you flash back to those scenes earlier, these are looking really good. Really pleased. Again, you got a nice even seam all along the bottom, up there, over there. It's starting to look okay. I've not yet taken the time to kind of fill all those little pinholes and kind of redo some things, but that's all the time I have for this week. This week started out with a scare. We'll get those wires figured out. I've got some new wires on order. Other than that, we're still going strong on finishing the car. So lots of sanding, lots of filling. Thank you for supporting the content. Thank you for subscribing. See you next week.